Welcome to the Breakthrough and Bloom podcast. My name is Kelsey Marks, and I am your host and your Breakthrough BFF. I intend to be an open channel to allow insights to flow in that help you break through to the next level of who you were always meant to be. With these conversations, we're going to shift some perspectives, okay? And we're going to give you a new way to live the life that you live, allowing the opportunity to truly manifest what it is that you desire. So if you're looking to break through to the next level of who you are, to live the life of your dreams, and to gain a deeper understanding of spiritual topics, well, you have come to the right place. And I know we're going to have so much fun together, and I am beyond excited to have these conversations with you. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode here at Breakthrough and Bloom. How are you doing? How was the holiday season? How was celebrating New Year's? Have you been having a good first week to the new year? And I honestly hope you have. And if you haven't, it is quite all right. The last couple of weeks have been a little intense for you. Maybe didn't go exactly how you had hoped. All is good. We are truly in a transitionary period of time. So if you're finding that life isn't all like rainbows, sprinkles, shits and giggles right now, like that's perfectly fine. And honestly, if you're hearing this podcast episode, if this specific episode has found you, you are truly moving through a major shift right now, a big transition, and you're stepping into a more aligned, vibrant, abundant version of you. And you might be thinking to yourself, like, yeah, fucking right. But let me tell you, anything and everything you desire, you dream of, you wish to be, you want to have, or you want to do, it already exists within your realm of possibilities. If it wasn't possible at all, you wouldn't have been able to conceive of it in the first place. Okay? So don't worry about the how right now, okay? That's not your job. Don't worry about it. Just trust that it's coming, because if it wasn't possible, you wouldn't have even thought of it. So with the new year just happening, us moving into 2024, leaving 2023 behind, I wanted to talk about something that a lot of people do every new year, which is make New Year's resolutions. You know, the whole like, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week now for the rest of the year, or I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to save money, I'm going to practice self-care, I'm going to get a new job, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, yada, yada, like the New Year resolutions, right? And these like resolutions, they're like so abrupt to change everything that you've been doing, right? Like it's just like, well, I'm going to the gym 5 days a week when you haven't even been going at all. Or like, I'm going to lose weight, but you haven't even been trying to do it prior. Or like, I'm going to save money, but you don't even know the first things about like how to save money, right? Like these New Year resolutions are just so like 180 sometimes when we set them. And it's the far vision of ourselves that we want, right? It's the far vision of ourselves, the ideal version of ourselves, which can be like a total 180. And sometimes we make these resolutions and we don't really put into perspective the capability of whether or not we have, I'm saying that wrong, but whether or not we have the capability to actually complete that at that version, right? Like, I'm not saying you can't get healthier, you can't go to the gym, you can't do this. I'm just saying, like, sometimes we don't put into perspective of where we are currently. I'm not the biggest fan of New Year's resolutions. I never make them. And let me tell you why. So the issue that I have with New Year's resolutions, well, one of them is that they're rooted on like counting on motivation to bring you to your destination, right? Like you're hoping that the motivation that is coming from setting it at the beginning of the year, like new year, new me, that I'm so motivated to do this. Like you're counting on the motivation to carry you throughout the year, through the next 365 and a quarter days. And in fact, motivation is limited. It is not this like unlimited well of energy that you could just tap into. Motivation is limited. It is like a limited bucket that you can fill and you can feel really good about sometimes, but then there's times when there is none, right? Because it's not this ever flowing thing. Motivation isn't built like that. It's not designed like that. We don't have unlimited amounts of motivation. It's like a little burst. That's its job. It's like a little burst to get you going, to get you off the ground, to get you started. It's not meant to be used forever and ever and ever. It's not its design. We don't have unlimited amounts of energies to push ourselves to do things that aren't habitual for us, that aren't natural, that aren't comfortable. We don't have unlimited energy to push ourselves to do things that are not comfortable for us. And the thing about making massive changes like New Year's resolutions, like that you're proclaiming to the world that you're going to be doing, is a lot of times they're unlikely to stick. And I'm not saying this as like a Debbie Downer, but like factually, most New Year's resolutions are toast, done, not being worked on anymore by the time like February rolls around. And this is due to the fact that the goals are being set based on like motivation, trying to use motivation to get you there. And it's not possible for all days of the year to feel high energy, clear-headed, focused, and driven. It's just not. And you might be like, well, there's people out there who are capable of doing it. Sure, but like at what cost, right? What is their energy levels like? What about their actual happiness? What about their mental state? Like, they could be having a lot of other things going on, but also what you're probably seeing with those people that you're like, well, they're doing it. They're doing it, right? What you're seeing isn't motivation. It's consistency. And also be very aware of like social media. People only show you what they want you to see, right? Keep that in mind too. So comparisonitis will be the fall of you reaching your goals because you're going to see other people and be like, how are they able to do it? And I can't do it. And I feel like shit. Remember, people are only sharing the good shit. Most people don't share the hardships. I like to do that because I want to remind people that we're all human. We all go through shit and like my life is great and I love it. But there's days where it's like, this is a hard fucking day, right? And there's a lot of people out there who won't post that, who won't share that, who only show like the end goal, the high yields, whatever. And that makes everyone else kind of feel like shit. So don't compare yourself, right? And you might be saying, well, they're totally motivated. That's what they say all the time. And it's no, they're more consistent. And it's not motivation that you're looking for, it's consistency. Because again, motivation will wipe out. That it's by design. That's how it's designed. It's to give you a burst and then that's it. It's kind of like when you're playing Mario Kart and you get like the little burst of energy, you don't get it for the whole track. You get it for a little bit. You get to use it for a little bit. You get to like skirt by everybody else for just a little bit and then it wipes out. If you're banking on motivation to bring you along, you will wake up one day and you will be like, I don't want to fucking do this, right? I don't want to go to the fucking gym. I don't want to cook. I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. Like, this fucking sucks. I'm in a bad mood. I'm sick, whatever. And that's where motivation isn't gonna like push you through when you have those really hard days. And it's the consistency that you're looking for. And that's what's going to keep you on track, keep you moving along, keep you going towards your goals. Like, you don't want to go to the gym and work out. Okay. How about you just go to the gym and walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes instead? Or if you don't feel like driving at all, can you go walk around your neighborhood for 5 minutes instead? Or can you do a yoga exercise in your house if you really don't even want to go outside, right? Like, what can you do to move your body that is telling you, staying consistent, that I am going to continue to move my body, right? Don't want to cook dinner? Okay, what's an easy meal that you can like forget and cook in less than 30 minutes? What's a crock pot thing that you've got? What's a pre-made meal thing that you've already got? Like, the issue of why New Year's resolutions fall is because they're banking on staying motivated to do exactly what was intended versus like finding a way to stay consistent. So like, if your New Year's resolution was to cook healthy meals every day, if you're banking on motivation and being like, well, it's either cooking healthy meals or nothing, right? Like, so I have to do it. I have to cook a healthy meal every day. When there's some days where you don't have the time, maybe you have like 10, 15 minutes, like you don't have the time to make an hour long massive, huge, organic, healthy meal, whatever, right? But what can you do to stay consistent? Well, instead of going out and getting fast food, you could just make some pasta really quickly, right? Because that only takes about like 5 minutes, and then throw some sauce on it. If you don't have sauce, you can use olive oil or butter or whatever, right? And sure, that isn't like fruits, veggies, things like that, but it's not fast food, right? So you are staying consistent with, I'm going to be cooking my meals, knowing what I'm eating, picking my ingredients, right? And it's not about doing the same exact thing every day. It's not about doing 1,000% better than yesterday. It's not about one-upping yourself every day to get to the goal, or being like, I have to do exactly what I did yesterday because yesterday was a really good day and I was really in the flow and I was really feeling it. And now today I don't feel that way, but I have to stay at that level. Like, that's unrealistic because as of humans, we go through cycles, right? Not every day is going to be the same. And to expect yourself to be able to perform at the same exact level every day isn't really being fair to yourself. It's not about being or doing better than you did yesterday. It's about doing at least 1% every day, right? It's about doing something that is in alignment, right? If you said that you don't want to eat unhealthy food, or you don't want to, eat unhealthy food. You said that you want to eat healthy organic foods, but you don't have the time or the energy to cook something today. Isn't staying home and cooking something small that maybe isn't super, super healthy? So like, some people might say pasta is bad for you, or maybe you make a sandwich or a grilled cheese or mac and cheese from a box. That's a good one, right? There's some decent ones out there with ingredients that are a lot better than like Kraft mac and cheese. But wouldn't that be better and more consistent than going out and getting like McDonald's or Burger King or some sort of fast food like that, right? Like, you're still staying home and cooking, and you're still being conscious of the foods that you're eating, even if it's not like that super healthy organic recipe that you have saved on Pinterest. It's still that 1%. You're staying consistent. You're saying, I am going to cook for myself. I'm going to be conscious of what I'm eating. I'm going to like stay consistent with it, right? It's about giving yourself grace and understanding where you're at right now, and finding that happy middle ground of something that you can actually do that is keeping you consistent with what you are doing, what the intention was that you set for this year to be. It's keeping the momentum going. And that's what you're looking for. It's not motivation. You're looking for the other M word. You're looking for momentum. And momentum is gathered through being consistent, right? Just think of like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts off small, it's moving kind of slow, and then it starts rolling down, and it starts gathering speed, getting a little bit quicker, getting larger, becoming like a bigger and bigger snowball, and it's taking less effort to roll down the mountain. It's starting to go a lot quicker, it's a lot bigger, it's taking up a lot more space, and it's just so much easier. And then it's getting to a point where you can't really stop, right? Like, it's so big, it's just a habit now. It's just happening. Same thing with like a rocket ship, which I had kind of mentioned what motivation is. It's like the fuel or the energy that is needed to push it off of the ground, right? It's significant. It's a lot. You have a big push, and that's like what motivation is meant for. It's meant to get that going. It's that initial like jolt to get going. And then the consistency is what keeps it going. That's where the momentum is, right? Like, let's say there's like two fuel tanks. There's one that's like the motivation, that's the initial push off. And then I don't know how rocket ships actually work. Maybe it's one tank, maybe it's two. I genuinely have no idea. But for the sake of what I'm saying, let's say that the rocket ship has two fuel tanks. One is the like takeoff fuel, and then the other is the traveling fuel. And they have different ways that they get used. Takeoff fuel is like all of it, floodgates open. It's using like all of the gas to propel as much as it can. And then when that tank runs out, or even before then, it switches over to the other tank where less gas is getting used, but it's like a steady trickle flow coming through. And that other tank, that's your consistency, right? That's your momentum. That's what's keeping it going. That's what's keeping the rocket moving through the sky, into space, through the atmosphere. Again, I don't know how rocket ships work, but I'm assuming that the fuel needed at takeoff is significantly more than once it's flying through the sky. And that's kind of my imagery for you. So just like imagine if you're using or you're banking on that first fuel tank, it's going to run out at some point and you've got to go to the other one that isn't such like a strong burst, right? It's more of like a slow trickle that goes through, but it can last longer and it can actually get you into space, right? It can get you to where you want to go, whether it's the moon, the stars, whatever, another planet, right? Like that's the other tank. So if you have done a resolution this year, I am just going to ask you to focus on what you can do to be consistent. Like what 1% can you do today instead of 0% of not doing it because it's either all or nothing, but it's not, right? Like you can find something that's like, it seems like it's so insignificant and won't count, but it does count, right? Because it's still more of what you want to be doing than not doing anything at all. And that does make a difference. And I'm just going to ask you to, instead of hoping that motivation is going to carry you through it, be realistic with yourself and be like, what about consistency? What can I do to be consistent instead of being perfect? Because there is no such thing as like perfect like that, right? Like everything is great and it's good enough exactly as it is. And it's not going to get any better. Like it's fine. Whatever you're doing, it's fine. It's going to carry you to where you want to go. And this is not exactly where I wanted this episode to go when I started this, but here we are. Okay, so what I really wanted to say about New Year's resolutions is that a New Year's resolution should not be to change who you are, but it should be about embracing who you are becoming. And there's a difference there, right? Resolutions, we should be calling them New Year's intentions, right? Like we intend to be somewhere. A resolution, I mean, the word resolution means like it's completed, right? It's the end. And it's kind of silly to start your year by saying this is the end. So let's start by saying intentions. This is my New Year intention. And it's not about changing who you are, being like, I'm going to eat completely differently. I'm going to act completely different. I'm going to be totally different because I don't like this part of me and I want to change this, right? Like that's what a lot of our resolutions are. Like, I don't like this part of me. I'm going to change it. Like I can't stand how much I weigh or how much money I spend or how I interact with others. And like, I need to change it because I don't like it. Right. And that too could be why I don't really like resolutions so much, is because they're set based on lack, based on not love of like disliking yourself, right? Versus like the energy of embracing who you're becoming. It feels totally different, right? Like you're intending to become this other version of you and you don't know exactly how it's going to look. But when you say a resolution, you're saying like, this is how it's going to look and that's it or nothing, right? But versus saying like, I'm intending to become this version of myself, and like, that requires you to be really honest about where you are right now. Like, where are you in your life? Like, okay, this is my weight, or this is my income, or this is my eating habits, or this is my relationships. Like, you get honest with where you are at right now, right? You have to, because in order to embrace who you're becoming, you have to know who you are currently. And you also like become aware that you have desires that are pushing you to become different in so-and-so ways. And as I said before, your desires are destined for you, which means that you are inevitably becoming that version of yourself, right? It's happening. And to do that, to like speed it up, to like really feel in alignment with it, you really have to embrace where you're at right now first. You have to, so then you can come up with realistic steps of how to get to where you're going, because you are on that path. It's inevitable. The path is already set. You're on it, right? There's nothing you have to drastically change about yourself. You're already on there. So instead of being like, okay, I need to take like 1,000 steps forward, what about 1 step forward? Like, not paying attention to where you're at now, it's kind of like trying to get directions on Google Maps, with the end point being your desires, but like you don't have a start destination in the Google Maps, right? Like you put your destination, let's just say like Miami, Florida, right? But you're not telling Google Maps where you are currently, right? So Google Maps is going to give you a little red error box saying like, you need to put where you're at. I can't give you directions without it. And you can lie, right? You can say that you're somewhere else or you're someone else that you're not. But what good does that actually do for you if you need the directions, right? If I'm trying to get directions to Miami and I say my starting point's in California, that's not going to fucking help me at all. I'm not going to have clear steps of how to get to where I'm going at all, because that's not where I'm at. I'm in Massachusetts. So it's kind of like that. You have to be honest about where you are at, right? You can't get to where you're going lying about your starting point, because just like Google Maps, if you don't put an accurate spot of where you are, you're not going to get an accurate like depiction of the direction that you need to go, the steps that you need to take, the actions that you need to do. And I guess this kind of plays into what I was saying before, because it's easier to stay consistent with yourself when you're honest with yourself, when you're honest about where you're at, what you can realistically do today with your time, with your energy level, with your desires, right? Like you're more honest about it. Like you can actually see what's possible for you to do, or like how far you can actually push yourself today without making it too overwhelming or too impossible or too scary to do, but like still is directing you down the path that you want to go out on. So this year, instead of setting resolutions to change who you are, let's set intentions to embrace who we're becoming. And what does that look like, right? Look at where you are now, what your desires are, who you desire to become, which is on its way to you. So your end goal is that Google Map end goal. Recognize where you are now, and then see what that path means, right? What does it mean that you're becoming? So if your desire is to like lose weight, great, you're becoming healthier. You want to work out? Great, you're becoming someone who's more active. You want to save money? Great, you're becoming someone who's more financially literate. You want to quit your job and get a new one? Great, you're ready to explore new opportunities, right? Like those resolutions, I just reworded in a way that is now an intention. And it seems so less like daunting, so less like heavy, so less like, oh my God, I have to do it or else, right? Like, it's like, no, I'm becoming more financially literate. And like, that could mean so many different things versus saying like, I saved $100,000 in my bank account, right? Like so many different things. It could be that you like read a book on financial literacy or investing. You figured out what a 401k actually means, what a CD is, like, you know what I mean? And that's the energy to really embrace in 2024. It's just embracing who you are becoming, because there's so much less pressure when you see it as a journey you are on, and understand that like not all parts of the journey on the way to this end result are going to be the same, right? Like not every day is going to be exactly the same. So like if you want to work out and get in shape, not every day is going to be an hour-long workout. Some days might be like a 5-minute yoga session. It could be like restorative yoga too, like super, super chill, right? Not every day is going to be like a bougie homemade meal that you spent an hour cooking on. Some days you're going to have like 10 minutes to make something. So you just, do some soup or some pasta, something really quick. Not every paycheck can be saved in the same way because of like unforeseen life expenses. Like, you see where I'm getting at here? Like when you get instructions from Google for directions, it's never a straight line. You never like just get an instruction that says, oh, just straight down the street and that's it. Unless you're like going somewhere really close. But let's say like we're going somewhere pretty far. You're never getting instruction that is just straight, that the entire time is going to be exactly the same. There's no turns, there's no detours, there's no changes. Like that never fucking happens. And to think that your journey to your desires, which are not just down the street, okay? Your desires are, there could be a pretty decent space between where you are and your desires. And to think that your journey to them would be a straight line with no turns, no roundabouts, no red lights, no yield signs, no detours is just fucking like crazy. It's just wrong, right? It's not the truth. Just like a direction to go somewhere that's a couple hours from you is going to have turns, stop signs, all of these different things, like so is your path to your desires. And just like, accept that. It's not a bad thing. It's the nature of being human. It's just the way it is. And it makes it so less like pressure filled to be like, oh my God, every day has to be exactly the same. Like, no, it doesn't. There's different parts of the journey that require different things. There's sometimes that you do need to take a break, or you do need to slow down, or you do need to speed up, or whatever. So just keep going. Even if you get unexpected detours in your route, you're still getting to where you want to go, right? So don't give up at a detour. Just take the detour and keep going. And if you also find yourself in this like in-between stage of who you used to be and who you are becoming, but like you're not really either version of yourself at the moment. So like, you know, it's like you've got your old version of yourself that you've kind of shed, and you're like, I don't really believe in those things anymore, and like that doesn't feel good to me anymore. But like I haven't fully stepped into this new version of myself that like has the opposite beliefs that are in alignment for me. Like I don't know exactly what it means to be that version of myself. Like, you're not alone. Because I am like in that exact space right now too. I'm like right there with you. And it's really interesting. And it's kind of like low-key a tough space to be in, where, you know, you've outgrown your skin and you know that old version of yourself has fallen away and it's no longer who you are, and you don't fit into that old way of being anymore. Like it's uncomfortable. And yet this new version of yourself isn't here yet either, right? Like it isn't your new norm. Those aren't your new habits yet. It's not just a new way of being. Like there is effort that has to go into doing things that that version of yourself would be doing. But listen, we'll get there. We will get there through consistency. And that is my intention for 2024. And I welcome you to take it as well. But my intention is just to be consistent in becoming the version of myself where my desires are fulfilled. And just keep in mind that consistency, the consistency I'm talking about, is not that every day is exactly the same or better than yesterday. I'm not talking about like the consistency of California weather, how it's 70 degrees every day and sunny. I'm talking more of consistency that you're doing at least something that is in alignment with that version of you. Like, what would a healthier version of you pick to eat at this restaurant? Or what would a more financially stable version of you do with this bonus you just received? What would someone who prioritizes fitness do as a short exercise in the morning to just keep moving, right? Like, what can I do to stay consistent that is more in that realm, that is in the same vibration as my desire? And just be patient with yourself too. And don't rely on motivation, because that shit will run out. You can rely on momentum, which is built through consistency. And listen, some days are going to be harder than others. But remember that 1% is better than nothing. It is better than 0%. 1% truly does compound over time. And if you don't believe me, use a calculator. Mathematically speaking, 1% compounds over time, and it is significantly better than doing nothing. I tell myself this constantly. On days where I don't want to do yoga, I set a 5-minute timer and just do like simple floor stretches. On days that I don't want to meditate, I find like a short 5-minute meditation on YouTube to follow, which honestly, it goes by so fast, but like 5-minute is my like minimum, right? Like I can do something for 5 minutes. It's so quick. Like I can do it for 5 minutes. So that's why I pick like 5 minutes to do yoga or to meditate if I really don't want to do it, because it's like it's so simple, it goes by like so fast. And then I'll feel good about it because I did stay consistent. And granted, it wasn't like the 30-minute meditation or wasn't the 30-minute yoga session, but at least I still like did it, right? And on days I want to eat like shit, like I limit what I'm eating that isn't that great to like 1 or 2 instead of like the whole container or like the whole bag of chips, right? On days I don't want to work on my business, like I log onto my computer and I look at the things that I've created before and see if I want to tweak anything or if anything that I've made inspires me to create anything now. Like I'm still logging on to my computer, which is specifically for my business, and like stepping into that energy, right? On days that I struggle to make podcasts, like today, I wanted to make this like well over 2 hours ago. And I didn't until now. But even days like today where I'm struggling, you know, I sit down and I get in the space of where I would be recording it and just like play around a little bit with the systems of the computer until I get into the space and I feel ready to do it, right? Like sometimes it's just that, like staying consistent with your business is just going on your business computer, or it is just logging into your systems that you use for your business, or it is just looking at your fucking SEO or marketings or whatever. Like I don't know, whatever you do if you have a business. But sometimes it is just like sitting down like that. And also my stomach has growled like 7 times and I don't know if you can hear it because I have my headphones on, but if you can, just ignore it. Just ignore it. But yeah, so like just don't decide where it ends. Do something that seems like so small, so stupid, so insignificant that it's like, you're like, how is this me staying consistent? Like if it feels that small, definitely do it. And then like you could step it up a little bit and then you'll see like, oh, okay, you know what? This did keep me aligned and I do feel good about it. But like as simple as like rolling out your yoga mat and sitting on it for a minute or 2 is better than not rolling it out at all, right? Like you're telling your subconscious, like, this is something I want to be doing. You're building a habit, right? Like if you brush your teeth and then you roll out your yoga mat, that becomes a habit at some point where after you're done brushing your teeth and you put it away, like the clink of you putting it away triggers you to want to roll out your yoga mat. And that's scientifically proven as well too. So like, just don't decide where it ends. Do something really small that helps you get into alignment of where you want to be. And I know you're probably thinking like, how does rolling out my yoga mat and not actually doing it count? It does. It does. I swear it does. Because at some point you're going to roll it out and you're going to see it and you're like, okay, you know what? I could sit on this today and like stretch and reach down to my toes. That's better than not doing it at all. You're getting into the space. Like that version of you who does yoga every day is obviously rolling out the yoga mat every day, is obviously putting their feet on the yoga mat every day. And that's getting you more in alignment with it. And I know you're like, how does this make sense? But I've read plenty of books about like creating habits. And like, I've seen this multiple times that like even just getting yourself into the space, whether or not you do it or not, is going to significantly help you. I swear. And you're going to feel so much better too once you do it. And even like just starting it, you might find that, oh, you know what? I do have the energy to actually do it today. And then you do it. And getting to like starting or like getting to the place you need to go, whether it's the gym or the yoga mat, like getting to the mat, as Yoga with Adrienne always says, is the hardest part. And it truly is. So that's why I'm saying, like, even if you feel like going to the gym and not actually like doing anything, but just going in, walking around and then leaving isn't going to do anything, it really is. So let's let 2024 be the year of patience, of kindness, of compassion for yourself. Embrace who you are, where you're at, and how you do the things that you do. And then go from there. Don't try to radically change yourself because nothing is wrong with you. Nothing needs to be radically changed, right? You're perfect exactly as you are. You have desires to live life in a different way, and that's wonderful and can be honored, but there's nothing wrong with you with how you are right now. There's nothing that needs to be different. You are exactly as you are meant to be right now. And if there's a part of you that like wants to grow, that wants to develop, that wants to experience life differently, amazing. See that as your roadmap and ask yourself, okay, what small step can I do today that feels more like that version of me, knowing where I'm at currently? What is an achievable thing that I can do today that is in more alignment with that version of me versus this old past version of me? And in case no one has told you this today, I am so incredibly proud of you. You're doing amazing, sweetie. And I love you. I love you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next one.